Hello and welcome on 360 Sport on Trust TV. I am Adeni Ajishafe. Well, we go back to matches that will be coming up in the Europa League and also Europa Conference League. Those are the two places where matches will be coming up for this week. This evening, we'll be looking at those fixtures quickly. But I have in the studio Ibrahim Yusuf. Good to have you.
Always nice to be here, Adeni.
And also Abdullahi Kabiru. Good to have you.
Great to be back.
Let's run through all those fixtures quickly as we talk about Europa League and also Europa Conference. Let's start with Europa League, where Bodo Glimt will be at home against Zurich. That's a Switzerland team. Dynamo Kiev, AAK, Larnaca, Fenerbahce, Reims, Ludogorets Razgrad against Real Betis. AS Roma will be at home at the city of Rome against HJK Helsinki, Sporting Braga, Union Berlin, Union St. Gilloise against Malmo FC of FF of Sweden. And you have that's Sadiq Umar's team versus Omonia Nicosia. Well, another one, Sheriff Tiraspol, Manchester United, FC Midtjylland against Lazio, Feyenoord, Sturm Karabakh of Azerbaijan against Nantes, Freiburg, Olympiakos, Monaco, Ferencváros, and you have Red Star Belgrade against Trabzonspor in Turkey. Now, let's start from the first one. As we look at it, at least, let's look at it 2 by 2 as we go on. Bodo Glimt, Zurich, Reims, Fenerbahce. But let's look at Roma, okay, from Bodo Glimt to Zurich. Well, if you look at it, like Ibrahim always say, on paper or on leave. Bodo Glimt, you look at it, okay, if you want to judge it by that particular name, you might want to underrate them. But really, they are not to be underrated.
Bodo Glimt actually showed us what they could do last season. They got some very good results. They played fantastic football, and they were able to pull up a few shock results last season. So I don't think they are a team to be taken lightly. Zurich, yes, they have history. They have a very good team, and they're playing quite well as well. So I think. Yes, on paper, you might give it to Zurich because they are the ones you know and they're the ones who have the pedigree and whatnot. But Bodo Glimt are a very, very strong side. They've showed us last season that they can play with the best of them and they can actually give a very good account of themselves. And playing at home as well, that is a very good advantage for them. So they might be able to pull out something.
They just have to be up against them. Fiorentina must play better because you can't underrate Bodo Glimt. Still talking about Europa League, we've been looking at the fixtures quickly. Let's look at others that will be coming up. We have Dynamo Kiev, Larnaca, Fenerbahce, Reims. Now we look at Real Betis, Ludogorets Razgrad. Real Betis, Spanish team, at least you can rate them in the mode of maybe Everton or Tottenham Hotspur. But right now, they will be playing against Bulgarian Ludogorets Razgrad. And you just can't rate either of them, but if I should stand looking at the two teams, maybe Real Betis should be able to have an upper hand.
Yeah, Real Betis, they're usually a mid-table team in La Liga. You have some top players, Nabil Fekir, there's Canales, the defensive midfielder William Carvalho. They have some really top players. So Ludogorets, I remember them a few years ago in the Champions League. I think they upset Real Madrid. So it should be an interesting match where Real Madrid should see themselves as favorites.
Real Betis.
Yeah, Betis, sorry, they should see themselves as favorites against the Bulgarian team. They should win that, given their pedigree. You know, La Liga, usually top 8 in La Liga against...
But at times, pedigree is actually win football because it might not just work.
Yeah,
look at what happened between Chelsea and Dynamo Zagreb.
That's true.
While we're still looking at that, let's look at another one. We've just talked about Real Betis against Ludogorets Razgrad of Bulgaria there. Now, still talking about the Europa League, matches will be coming up. But the big one again is between Roma, AS Roma against Helsinki over there in Rome. Mourinho, talking about Abraham, not forgetting Dybala. Would they be able to answer Mourinho tonight? Ibrahim.
Well, they should be able to, looking at it as it is, player for player. But you see, the problem with Roma is Roma has been epileptic this season. You know, with the caliber of players they have, we actually thought that they were going to blow away all opposition coming their way, and it would not be as difficult as it is right now. We saw a very shocking result against Udinese, where they didn't play quite well and they got seriously beaten. And we don't expect that from Roma. But I think when it comes to the Europa League, I think it's a different ball game. Jose Mourinho likes to win trophies, and I think this is a trophy that he would like to win. With AS Roma, and I believe he thinks he can be able to win it. So I think they will be able to pull out, to give a very good account of themselves, because they brought very good players this season. They've actually strengthened a lot, especially with Dybala coming into the fray. Unfortunately, Wijnaldum had to get injured, but they got a lot of good players through the window, and I think they can be able to do something very, very serious. So against Helsinki, I believe they will fancy their chances, especially playing at home.
A Finnish team. You just look at the way it sounds. Finland, Finnish, and now they have Helsinki playing in Rome. I expect Roma to actually come out smoking against them. But look at another one. Sporting Braga from Portugal versus Union Berlin. We know right now Union Berlin are top of the table in the German Bundesliga. That could actually give them that boost to play away against Sporting Braga. Although you never can tell about the Portuguese team. They can be very, very unpredictable.
Oh yeah, Union Berlin obviously topping the Bundesliga. Have started the season really well, but I think it's just an initial something.
Whatever they call it.
Yeah, they will come down to their level. But yeah, against Braga, an interesting Portuguese side. They're usually top 5 teams in Portugal, so it should be an interesting game. It's hard to call. I think it'll be probably.
But now that you mentioned, maybe they are borrowing some English from Nigeria, the initial gragra that we mentioned. What if Union Berlin, even though I'm just digressing a bit, surprise everyone because they have never done this. Now they are top of the table in German Bundesliga, and they could be like, wow, we can do this.
Yeah, when you're feeling that, when you're on form, that momentum, you can use that to maybe translate into European form. So it should be an interesting watch. So they could pull it off, but they're going to Portugal though. It's a home advantage that could play against them. But it'll be an interesting match to watch out for. Yeah, to see.
Well, let's see what's going to be happening concerning those two teams there. Union Berlin versus Sporting Braga. Churchilley made that team popular in Nigeria when he was playing for them. Well, right now we look at another one. This time around, Omonio Nicosia. Well, that's the team of Nigerian goalkeeper Uzoho Francis. He'll be traveling to Sadiq Umar's club, although Sadiq Umar is still injured, and we hope that he will be recuperating well after the surgery. Real Sociedad against Omonio Nicosia. Ibrahim, this is a match that it will have been two Nigerian brothers, but right now one is
one is currently out injured, yes, and I think he'll be a big miss for Sociedad, but I think they have enough quality in other players in other areas on the pitch, and they have very, very good quality players that can actually pull it off. I don't see Nicosia bringing up a surprise. It could happen, yes, but really, I really don't see that happening right now. Sociedad is a very strong team. They have very good players in different parts of the pitch, and I think they can be able to give a very good account of themselves and get the required results. Nicosia can go there, yes, maybe make life difficult a bit for them, but I don't see them coming up with a positive result.
Cyprus team, what would they do in Europe against the Spanish team? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you just look at it. You look at the players on both sides. You look at the balance of play. I mean, like Sociedad, really, we should expect them to
win this game.
Come in and do the business. Yes.
While we're looking at that, let's look at the second one. That's talking about the Europa League now. Still looking at Manchester United will be playing Sheriff Tiraspol in an away game. And Manchester United should not underrate Sheriff Tiraspol. They are one of those teams that actually they are giant killing whenever you play them. But Manchester United, maybe I can say they are fired up. But for this little break now that happened, I hope they have not gone to sleep.
Oh yeah, Manchester United, obviously having lost the first match against Sociedad, it was a bit of an upset. They lost at Old Trafford, so coming up against Sheriff, they really need to recover because the Europa League is an opportunity to qualify for Champions League. If you win it, just direct qualification, you don't have to worry about top 4. So Manchester United need to take the competition seriously
to come back.
To come back to the Champions League where they feel like they belong. And obviously with the money they've spent, the players they've signed, they really can't be. This is a must-win match, I think, for them. They shouldn't be drawing or losing to teams of that caliber. Yeah.
You agree with that, Ibrahim?
Sheriff came to the Champions League a few years ago and they did some really surprising things. They pulled off some very, very surprising
Man United should be very careful.
Of course they should be. This particular Manchester United, they should be careful. I mean, like, they're there for the taking. Everybody knows that. They can actually see that. Yeah, they had a resurgence after a poor start to the season. They came back, won a couple of serious games, and everybody is thinking that, they're out of the slump. Now the slump has ended. Then they got beat by Sociedad, and everybody got a wake-up call at that particular point. So I think really expecting Manchester United to go there and blow Sheriff away, it's really an overestimation. They can do that. They have the capacity to do that. They have the players to do that. The pedigree is always there on their side, and they can actually do that. But we shouldn't really take it for granted. It's not something that could not, there's a probability that can happen. They can go there and have a very tough time. Yes, we expect them to get a positive result, but let's not put so much high hope on what Manchester United can actually do, especially this particular Manchester United. Maybe somewhere down the line when we go to the middle of the tables of the season and their form has actually stabilized, then we can be able to make these kind of bold predictions.
One day, Manchester United will ask you, what do you have against our team?
I have absolutely nothing against Manchester United. I'm just looking at what is placed in front of me. This particular Manchester United, they are not the Manchester United that we used to know. And they'll probably get there, yes, with the right management, with the right time, with the right recruitment. They'll probably get there and a change of mentality. But they are not there yet.
They are not there yet. Coming from Ibrahim there, let's just take it from there and quickly look at the remainder of the matches that will be coming up in Europa League there. Well, you have to look at Lazio playing away in Midtjylland there. Well, Feyenoord, they'll be playing home to Stormgrass, Karabakh, Nantes. Well, Moses Simon, will he be able to at least score tonight? It is very possible. Olympiakos, they've got Marcelo, and now they are at the verge of signing James Rodriguez. They will be playing against Freiburg of Germany, who also are among the table toppers. They're actually trailing Union Berlin, Monaco, Ferencváros, Trabzonspor, Red Star Belgrade. Maybe I should just take two. Let's look at Monaco. Monaco right now in French League One. Yes, you can always rate them among the big boys, but against a Hungarian team, you can't just write them off. I remember this same Ferencváros ruled Europe for a long time ago, although not now. This is a digital football now.
Well, it's quite different. But even Monaco is not the Monaco that we used to know. The Monaco of back in the days was fantastic. It produced lots of amazing players.
Of course, not forgetting Cueva.
You understand, Victor Cueva was there. He was the Prince of Monaco. Everybody loved him at that time. Even recently, they produced the likes of Mbappe. They came through Monaco. Mbappe, Bernardo Silva. They came through. So they've shown that they can actually do it. They're not doing it now, but they have the capacity to actually do it. They have a very good model. They have very good players, and they can be able to do something worthwhile. But teams like Ferencváros, you should be wary of teams like that because they are unknown quantities. Nobody knows what they can actually do. And these teams, they have absolutely nothing to lose. So they can come and throw everything at you. And throw anything at you. If they lose 7-0, is nothing against them because nobody expects them to do anything worthwhile. You understand? So they can come and play as freely as they want under no pressure whatsoever. And that's where results come.
That's where results come. Talking about the match that will be coming up, Ferencváros, they will be playing away, and Monaco just have to be very careful against that particular team. Now, let's go to Europa Conference League, the third tier of UEFA competition in Europe. As we look at those fixtures that will be coming up. Also, this evening, Istanbul Başakşehir, the team from Turkey, they'll be facing Fiorentina. Well, we actually mentioned that. But that match, I expect Fiorentina to come out smoking against Istanbul, although the boisterous atmosphere over there in Istanbul can support Istanbul against Fiorentina. Can they do it? It is very possible. Abdullahi, you want to agree with me that this particular match seems to be the king of the matches here?
Istanbul against
Fiorentina.
Well, yes, I guess Turkish teams, the atmosphere over there in Turkey is always very intense, very passionate fans. Sometimes we train smoke and other things onto the stadium. Fiorentina, historically in Italy, they are one of the big clubs, but recently they're more mid-table. So yeah, it should be an interesting watch. I think Fiorentina should have the edge though, like Istanbul,
Başakşehir.
They're not one of the top teams even in Turkey. So I think Fiorentina should have the edge.
Maybe you can just rate them because if you think of Galatasaray, you think of Fenerbahce, you think of this Istanbul. They are one of those top teams. Just that because, until a Nigerian or an African player moves to some club before he begins to do that, so this club is as strong as this. They are one of the fantastic teams in Turkish Super League.
Turkish Super League is just more like a retirement home.
Oh my goodness! I hope one Turkish one will not come and fire us.
When you're finished.
At one point,
they really ruled Europe.
The Premier League was a retirement home as well. I mean, we had players like Ravanelli that came at Gianluca Vialli, they came to end their careers in the Premier League at one particular point in time. So being a retirement home now doesn't mean that it's going to. And besides,
in fact, I will even call.
And besides, they have very good tax incentives there. That's why a lot of players actually go there as well. And the Turkish league is quite competitive.
Very competitive.
It's quite competitive because you have leagues that we consider as tougher leagues than the Turkish league, having just two teams. Like when you look at the Bundesliga, you know that it's Bayern Munich that's going to win it,
candid,
no matter what,
Turkish league is
no matter
very
what is
tough.
going to happen. But at least the Turkish league, you know that there's still an element of surprise, something that can actually happen. Istanbul, yes, they probably don't have the history of a Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, but recently they have proven to be very good, a very good team. Yes, you understand. I'm even surprised that they're right now in this particular bracket.
Yes.
You know, usually they're Europa League, Champions League
Or
material.
even Champions League.
Exactly. So so they're not really a pushover team that you can say, okay, Fiorentina can go and blow them away just like that. And just because Fiorentina has the name, has the pedigree, has the history, it doesn't mean that they can actually go out there and do it. They have good players, yes, but the Fiorentina that we used to know back then is not this Fiorentina now. They're just trying to find their feet. They've got new owners trying to bring in new players and inject some money into the club and see if they can be able to get back to the elite of European football. But really, I see this, just like you said, it's the fixture that actually jumps at you. As you look at this fixture list, it's the first thing that actually jumps at you. It's a game that you really want to watch. But I think these two teams are almost evenly balanced, and you can't call this game until after the final whistle.
But to be candid, really, Turkish Liga is one of the strongest right now because they play good football. If you look at the clubs there, Sivasspor, Bursaspor, Karagümrük, not forgetting the top ones, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and Istanbul, Başakşehir. A lot of Nigerians are playing there, really, Turkish Super Liga, one of the toughest, really, when it comes to football. Now, we'll be looking at Europa Conference League. Lastly, talking about the matches coming up for today. We have Partizan Belgrade against OGC Nice, another big one there, Hapoel Beersheva against Villarreal. Yes, this is another match I want to look at. Villarreal, that's Samuel Chukwueze's club. They will be traveling away to Israel, playing against Hapoel Beersheva. Some Nigerians make all this club popular, so be candid.
Yeah, Villarreal, obviously, top team in La Liga, historically, is one of the best Spanish teams. They have some very talented players. You got Moreno there, Chukwueze plays there. There's a young Spanish lad, Jeremy Pino. They have some really top players. So going to Israel, Israeli teams are not known for being the best. So I think it should be a win for Villarreal. Yeah, if they bother to show up, because you know some teams, they don't really care about the Conference League. They just want to get out of it and focus on their league form. So if they play their best players, I think Villarreal should win it. Yeah.
That'll be it there. We've been talking about that, and Ibrahim wants to agree with me that Villarreal they are expected to win this game.
Yes, they are expected to win the game, and yeah, he's made mention of something about Israeli teams not being known to be that fantastic. But we've seen how Israeli teams have gone and made life difficult for a lot of the top teams that we're actually talking about. You understand? We saw Maccabi Haifa give PSG a run for their money yesterday, and it was something that nobody really expected. They can come in and they put in a very good performance. If they can stay solid defensively, anything can happen from there. They can actually launch something worthwhile. But it is expected that Villarreal will win the match. But still, we should not take it for granted that there could be a surprise in the offing. This is one of those matches that I believe a surprise can actually happen.
I look at West Ham. West Ham will be playing away to Salzburg, and looking at the way they are right now in EPL. West Ham just have to, I don't know what happened to West Ham. They were really doing well a couple of 2-3 seasons, and now they are just struggling.
Even last season, they played some fantastic football. They got some very amazing results, and they did get a couple of people into the team and strengthened. I think on paper they appeared stronger than they were last season. But I think it's just it's a question of the blend. They still haven't gotten the blend right.
To my ass?
It is. I don't know. I think maybe Moyes is losing the plot.
Seriously, because the same magic wand that they use in Everton. Agree. I'm not even going Manchester United. I'm not going there. But I'm going to at least borrow the leaf he used. Or the soap he used to take his bath.
Maybe the soap was finished.
Oh, my goodness. Because he did so well. Even though he didn't win any title in Everton, but you could see that, okay, one of the top.
He made Everton like a top 6 side in the Premier League at that time. They were always finishing within that particular bracket. Yes, they didn't make the leap to the elite, but still he kept them there. And everybody was expecting West Ham to push on from their successes of last season to make something more worthwhile this season. But still, it's still early days. I think when they probably get the blend right, and they'll kick off. Last season they didn't stand they didn't start last season that fantastic as well. But then at the end of the day, they had a very strong finish. So maybe that's the new Moyes style now.
Okay, let's assume you are the Moyes, you are the assistant.
Yeah, it's still early days. Like West Ham, obviously difficult start to the season so far, but with the players they've signed in, you know, the strikers, Kamaka, they've signed Paqueta from Lyon. Imagine getting a player from Lyon, Champions League level team, to come to West Ham. So it shows
But he won't play alone. Even though they bring 4 Paquetas,
of course, but they have some top players, Declan Rice, Paqueta, you know, Scamacca. That's if he settles in, because Italian League and Premier League is different, maybe multiple factors. But West Ham, I think it's still early days. Like, if they're bothered about the Conference League, that's another thing. You know, who is really motivated? Like, again, no disrespect to these teams, to come on a Thursday night to play against some Israeli nobodies, like...
Oh my goodness, don't let all these guys fire some bombs around. When you look at Israeli league, when you think of Maccabi Haifa and all, you actually just have to think about this kind of club. They are very popular in their country, seriously. Now, is it John Ogu, one of the Nigerian players that actually played for them, and some other players then, they've done well, really. It's just that, you know, when you check these leagues, in fact, like 10 times bigger, better than our, is it 10 times? Or maybe 20 times? Our league.
Oh, no, don't talk about the MPFL.
Oh my goodness.
We're not talking about the MPFL now, really.
Good one. We've been looking at Europa Conference League. Now let's look at the second round, the Europa Conference League, the one that will be coming up tonight. Apollon Limassol against Dnipro, Eichmann against Vaduz. And all these matches will be coming up. Zalgiris from, they'll be facing FC Basel. But really, we quickly run through some story before we wrap it up on the show, where we talk about Brighton Sports, the sport mains head coach, Bones Stevenson, as replacement for Graham Potter. Well, as it is right now, they've actually spotted a man that's the coach of Mainz 05. They call him Bones Stevenson to take over as a coach.
Yes, well, it's somehow poetic. I mean, like Thomas Tuchel started his career in Mainz, so now this guy exactly. So now this guy is coming to Brighton to replace somebody who's replacing Thomas Tuchel in Chelsea. So I think for them to have actually identified this person, they must have seen something, and maybe he's the right person to get them where they need to get.
Good one there. Well, before we go, just running like news. Chelsea in advance to appoint Salzburg Christoph Freund as sporting director. They want to get him after they try to get a lot of others and it's not working at lack of Campos. But right now they can get Christoph for talking about Chelsea, and also forward James Rodriguez closing in to join Greek club Olympiakos. That will be another one for them. They've actually signed Marcelo. They are gunning for James Rodriguez, and the last on the log is Newcastle at great times with striker Garanquoll of Central Coast Mariners of Australia, young player, 18, but fantastic. And now they want to sign this player. Garanquoll will be coming to Newcastle.
Yeah, you know, Newcastle, I think probably an Australian player. This is a young teenager. Probably they're trying to expand their reach in Australia, you know, so, because I don't see him starting for them. So it's an interesting buy. Watch out to see what they're going to do with him.
Good one there. We just have to go now. Ibrahim, thank you very much.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good one. And Abdullahi, thank you also.
Great to be back again.
I am Adeni Ajishafe. Thanks for watching.